Welcome everyone to the latest edition of the Inside Track. We have an industry dynamite today with us. How are you doing, Steve? You well?
I'm pretty good, mate. Everything's good over here in Australia, so I hope things are good on your neck of the woods.
Absolutely. And with me, as always, is Glenda Rivoallan. How are you doing, Glenda? You well?
Really good. Excited for this. I've been on your website again, Steve, and I'm so excited. You are a powerhouse for sure.
Absolutely. So if people don't know who Steve Jensen is, we're going to give him a brief opportunity to explain what he does. But Steve is the managing director of Impact Training Corporation, which has been around. Steve, you'll tell us, but I know at least 25 years. Mm-hmm. So been around pretty much forever. You guys and Casey Conrad pretty much sit up there in terms of sales in our industry. So what I'm going to do is probably first question is sort of go, Steve, who is Steve Jensen and what's Impact Training, just to give us an idea of the background of who you guys are.
Well, Steve Jensen is a 10-pound pom. How's that, eh? I was actually born in Hong Kong, and we lived over there till I was about 11, and we moved over to England, and Dad decided to jump ship, and then we went across to Australia. So I came over as a young whippersnapper. And, went through all the bits and pieces and tried jobs that I didn't like and went to university. But I became an athlete. And long story short, I opened up one of the first clubs in Australia. And then after going through some psychology stuff, and we won't bore you with all that sort of stuff, I created a system that really worked well for communication. I wasn't big on sales. Who would ever thought that I'd be helping people do sales? But we came from a place of helping. And we created a system and a model which was, let's say, easily learned and even easier to implement. However, as you know, we did lots of our boot camps together. We learn by doing and having fun. When we're laughing, we're learning. And we just, as I said, when I had a lot of clubs, we had a lot of clubs in Australia. And then when I decided to sell them, and we started helping other clubs, and I launched Les Mills globally with Steve Renata and the boys, and that's where I met up with Brent Hallow, and we became Impact International, and we went global quite quickly, and we were in 17 countries. So we shifted the mindset of the industry, and it was for people like the guys at Holmes and so forth. It gave us a great opportunity to play, and that's pretty much what we've been doing for the last 30 plus years. And wow. We've shifted to an academy. We have a national sales academy. It's the first one in Australasia. And we have consultants all around the world that do what we do. And my job is to actually learn models which are easy to learn and able to be implemented. So the implementation is the most important thing. And, learning something is easy. We can understand it. But when you learn to do, especially in the art of professional communication, that's the key. And what my job is to make sure we have different models and processes which set trends. So it's easy for our teams to utilize, create new tools that are able to be implemented into the clubs and studios. So that's me in a work. I live in Australia. I'm in Sydney. I travel around the world, and I've now sort of settled a little bit more in Australia. I do a lot more via the Zoom. We started to go digital before COVID, and we started our National Sales Academy, and that's been really successful in having a bit of a hybrid where we have belly to belly as well as online. So, and that's me. I love going to the football. Still like my soccer. I'm an Arsenal supporter.
Wow.
We still train every second day, and I go for my runs and walks and all the other bits and pieces. I love flying my drone, so that's a bit of fun, and that's a bit about me.
Steve, what a great CV. We're speaking to the absolute expert here, right? So you're not with the name the Sales Doctor for nothing. I hear that's what you're known as, right? So
look, you're very, very astute of you. Yeah, they call me the Dr. J. Yes, that's right, the godfather of sales. I don't know where that came from, but it's stuck.
Yeah, well, I do. You've definitely earned your stripes to be called the Sales Doctor. So I think just jumping right in, what I wanted to ask you is, What do you think is our main illnesses in terms of sales communication and leadership? And what do you think we need to fix pretty rapid in our industry?
Okay. I'm going to split that up a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Sales and leadership. I believe they're both dovetailed together. Now, if everyone like to go and buy a little abridged version of How to Win Friends and Influence People, that'll give you a Reader's Digest version of what I'm talking about. It's 43 minutes. And sales is actually leadership. It's the availability to ask good questions and then help people make a good decision. However, leadership we'll put aside for a moment. In the sales modality, we have become poor at doing the fundamentals. We've lost the art of communications. The telephone skills have become incredibly barren.
Yeah.
We're relying significant amounts of time on emails and text messages and so forth. What we do need to do is to streamline our tools and have to remember this. People pay to have problems solved. They'll only go to somebody who is an expert. So we have a model that we created, and I'm sure that Ryan would remember this, which is called inking. I never knew that. So say you got Skinny Steve or Chubby Steve wants to learn about the membership. They don't want a membership. They want to talk to someone that can help them fix the problem. He doesn't want to be skinny or fat anymore. So we got to teach them stuff that they don't know. So we've lost the art of asking good conversation, but also listening and giving them a little bit of value. When we create value, and we got a new model, it's VCQP. Value first by creating expertise. That's how you create value, showing you're an expert. Number 2 is convenience. Everyone wants everything tomorrow, and we have to create convenience. So we've got to make sure they can come to the club or studio and it's convenient.
Yeah.
We don't ask these questions. And then the next thing is quality. Your quality has to be based on your unique selling position, the things you do. And what our industry needs to fix is stop talking about memberships and specials and start going into the green brain modality of where all decisions are made in the limbic brain and show them that they connect to a feeling.
Yeah.
And the feeling isn't feeling better. It's like, I'm feeling embarrassed and I want to feel proud. We have to get comfortable in asking the qualification questions. So a skill that everyone needs to learn is how to qualify more effectively with empathy. Number 2, they need to do the second worst thing that's done in our industry and really in most businesses is the tour or the explanation or demonstration. We changed it around about 3 to 4 years ago, and we now call it proofing.
Yeah.
We have to prove what we've said is true. And there's a modality called PFEB that you can do that. Pain, feature, benefit, emotion, agreement. Once you do that twice.
Ryan.
I'm taking this all in.
If you do the PFEB twice and then just test the temperature before we present prices, we have a saying, never present prices until you know the person wants to join. And this means we need to test the temperature, that they see the proof, they get comfortable, and they've had an experience, not a show around. People call it a show around. It's not a show around. It's an experience where they'll say, I want to come back. And here's a little tip. Always introduce them to somebody else. It's called a sentinel test closer. So they will have a test close that they learn and say, oh, this is Glenda. She's our manager. And Glenda will say, oh, terrific. This is Steve. And Stan will say, oh, terrific, Steve. When are you starting with us? So she tests the temperature. And he said, oh, I'm thinking of starting on Wednesday. Oh, terrific. I'll be around. So let me make sure you know, let me know you're here. So it's a sentinel test close. So you get about 3 of these, and everyone has a different test close. And then the last thing is our price presentation. Oh, my goodness. We got all of this stuff where we have the discount off and no joining fee today, get 3 weeks for free. And that's a complete red brain model. You can have an offer.
Steve, I still do the crosshairs to this day. I still train the crosshairs with the 4 W's and 8's down the right hand side, the name and the times at the top.
Absolutely.
I still train that out.
And that you're spot on, Ryan, because that's called the bordering. Takes 10 to 20 seconds. People miss it out.
Yep.
And then they don't. Then they muck up their price presentation. Always circle the name. Never circle the money, and never put pounds, euros, or dollars. And always tick the name after they've agreed. Then we've got to ask for the business. All we have to do.
Which one
now
are you
is just a
leaning
little
more
bit of
towards,
paperwork.
Steve? Which one are you leaning more towards? It's still ingrained in my brain that
two options are both memberships.
Absolutely.
Terrific.
It just doesn't make sense that I was with a client yesterday, funnily enough, and they still presented a potential new client. They still presented a full list of prices, and I was like, "Well, okay. That's disappearing. that's the first thing we're getting rid of."
Well, you're spot on the money. There's a new model I put together, Ryan, which is called a tariff, and tariff closing, where everyone wants, because people are very. It's gone back, as you probably are aware. We've got casual people, and everyone's doing a bit of sales, a bit of reception, where people are short of staff, especially in Australia, where there's a shortage of staffing. So what they've done now is we've created a model where they just have to read the tariff. It still has the T graph, but they say, this is the focus. We just read the name. We then go down to the name and we read what's there. Then we put a little texter, alternatively with the arrow moving to the right-hand side, because we always know people buy to the right. And then we say, and then we underneath it on the tariff, it's printed. It's just most popular or best value.
Yeah.
You then say the name, you circle the name, and then explain it, and then say, what sort of person are you? And by the way, I'm sure you know this, but let's say your listeners don't. Never ask them about options. Option is a pre-framed opt-in, opt-out.
Yeah.
We've got to say, we could say two ways. What sort of person are you? Are you A way or a B way? And there's two ways to do it.
Yeah.
There's two ways, never options. Take out the word options.
Yep. Steve, what you've just proved there, which I love, 3 things that really jump out at me, apart from the fact that probably nobody thought we were going to get such a comprehensive answer. So you've even earned your stripes even more as the sales doctor. We've just proved that, I think. But 3 things that really jump out at me there that I think I couldn't agree with you more about is we've lost those guerrilla marketing techniques where we're now relying on automation or social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. But the Grant Cardans of this world, the Ryan Searns that sell billion-dollar properties, all still pick up the phone, speak to people. So that I've got a question on that, but I think everybody needs to remember the old-fashioned marketing techniques that still work. The other thing that I love there is you've shown that people decide with logic, but they do buy with emotion. And I don't think we're very good at it. You know, tapping that hot button, like you say. You know, Steve might think that option's better than that logically, but he's going to buy with emotion when you start to tell him about how much he's going to lose that weight, right? So you showed both there, and it just fascinates me. And I think that you covered a lot. Maybe people need to pick each part of that and break it down. I guess the big question I've got for you is, in the spirit of convenience, and we know that that's what people want now, and a lot of people don't want to pick up the phone, and we hear a lot of salespeople or membership advisors saying, yeah, I try, but I can never get anybody on the phone. Have you guys got any good advice on that? I know you're laughing, but we hear it all the time. Can't get them on the phone.
It's absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. So there's 3 processes I can explain to you. Number 1, we have to get in contact with the lead as soon as possible. The data says it's within 1 to 2 minutes, but that's impractical. Mm-hmm. But when we call, remember, there's lots of scammers all around the world now. People don't pick up the phone as lot. So it's probably going to go to voicemail. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you go to voicemail, you have to use a process. Now, we all know in the fitness industry, and I'm sure you guys know, that we have a thing called a 3-day loop.
Yeah.
If we contact the person within 24 hours, you've got 100% more chance of them showing and buying. It is significant data.
Yeah.
If we go to the 2nd and 3rd day, it reduces by about 25%. So what we do is a thing called a matrix. The matrix is a 4 different prompts. And I'm big on prompts, not scripts. And the first matrix is, oh, hello, Glenda, I'm sorry I missed you. It's Steve from ABC Club. Look, I'm just ringing up for you about your inquiry. We've got some awesome things happening down at the club or studio at the moment, and I'd love to share them with you, whether you want to build up, lose weight, or whatever it may be. Look, I will call you a couple more times throughout the day. My number is 12345. Feel free to ring me back. I'll be here till 4 o'clock. So if you see my number, please pick up, okay? I'll also look out for my SMS. So as soon as you hang up, you send them an SMS. Hey, Ryan, just missed you. I'd love to chat with you. Steve from Holmes Place.
Yeah.
Never say Steve from Holmes Place at the beginning. It's always Steve at the end. Never, ever have a text message with where you're from at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
and the next thing is
really simple but smart. Because if you see that, they might not even read it, right?
Absolutely. Next day, slightly different prompt. And we say, oh, and then the second day, you'll say, look, if you don't want to hear from me, just let me know. But I'm sure you want to hear a little bit about the club and how we can help you. So he's a little bit different. You'll do the same thing. Now, you must call 2 more times throughout the day. Call them without a voicemail. You'll also send them another text. Now, on day 3, you don't call. On day 4, you apologizing for not calling. Oh, right. So Steve here from Holmes. So sorry I couldn't ring you. It's flat out getting people started for summer. Look, and then you have a slightly different message. You'll say you'll call them a couple more times throughout the day. If you don't want to hear from me, let me know. Same thing again. Last call. Day 5, 4th voicemail. Hey, Glenda, Steve here from, I hope you're okay. I've left you a few messages because we really do like to follow up promptly. Look, we've got some awesome things happening here at the studio or the club, and I'd love to share with you. But I've got some good news, and I got some bad news for you. Now, the good news is, and then I laugh, I said, I will call you a couple more times throughout the day because I do want to call you. But if I don't hear from you, this is the last call. The bad news is the last call I'm going to make because I don't want to be a squeaky wheel. But I just want to make sure that you're looked after. In the meantime, hopefully I'll call. If off chance I don't hear from you, hope everything goes well. Look out for my text message. I'll hopefully talk to you soon. Then it's done.
Right.
Now, that's how many calls, Steve, in those 5 days?
I've counted about 15.
They've got 4 calls with a voicemail, 2 calls without.
Yeah. Steve.
Okay. And that's the scary thing because a lot of clubs don't want to get. I don't know why. A lot of clubs that I'm working with, and you probably find the same thing when you go into these clubs, they've almost turned the phone off. They've almost turned it off to sort of go, well, we've got this automation, we've got this text message, and you're going, yeah, but that doesn't get them to react.
I just want to go a bit deeper than that for a minute. You know, I think that we have not given salespeople globally ever the kudos that they deserve. I believe that this is an absolute mastery of skill, right? The best salespeople have a huge skill set, which I know that you do huge amounts on, Steve, to develop skills, because once we've got attitude, we can train skill, right? Totally buy into that. But our industry, like Ryan has just said, has got a phobia, as you also said, of the phone. So if we take it all the way back, how do we get our industry employees really fired up about the phone? Because I watch a lot of high performance salespeople's podcasts, and they will always say, you know, for every 100 salespeople, there's only probably 2% that are really, really shit hot, right? And we now need really, really good ones. So how are we going to fire them up in the industry that they would want to make those calls?
Okay. Before I go that, and I've got a good answer for you there. That's the manual protocol of contacting people. I want all your listeners to know another way. Is that okay? I share that?
Yeah, go for
Absolutely.
it.
Great. What we do is you can use technology. Now, everyone likes technology, but you can get you onto your mobile phone. If you send them a text message, always have book a call. Now, remember, I'm going to call Glenda, and she's actually busy with the kids or going to school or doing a yoga class, and then she gets this voicemail. And then I got to call me back, and I'm busy. It goes to voicemail. That is a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay? What is better is that you send them a text message and you say, look, to avoid telephone tag, and you get Calendly, it's free, or Acuity, any calendar link, and say, book a call at a convenience time for you. And then they book the call. So they book the call in your calendar. Now, when you call a booked call, you have 70, 80%, in some cases higher than that, pickup rate.
Yeah.
So they pick the time, not you randomly call. Now, that's one way of doing it. Voice to text is also very good. So you send a voice to text and then send a text message afterward with that text message. And if you really want to be different, and it's not about being better, it's about being different, you get the good old telephone, your mobile, you put a video, say, hey, Ryan, it's Steve here from ABC Club. Just thought I'd put a face to a name. I would love to have a chat with you. Da, 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 da. I'm going to send you a text message so you can book a call. All right. See you soon. Book.
Love it.
You send a little video with a text message to book a call. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Yeah.
Big time.
And that's not
that's
even,
another way.
It's not even that difficult because we're now
No.
so technologically advanced. I mean, something
And it
that's
means that
really
you're
jumping out is that this importance, and I know, Ryan, you do this with your clients all the time, but process is important, yeah? So what do you think, Steve, is the ideal sales process? What does that look like from start to finish? If we said that, you know, was a journey.
Okay. I'm going to answer your question about getting them motivated.
Oh, sorry.
In sales in training, is a lot of people are doing it incorrectly. You get a new staff member, you say, great, we get them onboarded, understand the CRM, and then we get them on the phone. Well, this is a big, big mistake.
Mm.
We've never done this. And right from the get-go, you never, ever, everyone that's listening, please listen to me here. Never teach your people how to do the telephone first, ever. Because what you'll do is what you say, oh, these are the old leads, you get them on the phone, and then they get rejected, and then they get call reluctance, and they never will be any good. You are burning that team member. So never, ever teach them phone or give them a prompt and get them on the old leads. That is a disaster. Number one thing you've got to teach them first is price, presentation, and close.
Yeah.
Number one thing, get the prices in the head, make sure that they can close. Number one. Number two, then you go back to your needs analysis right through. Once you've got the belly to belly presentation sorted and they've done their PDR, their practice, drill, rehearse, then teach them the telephone, because then they know what they're saying, what they're going to be doing when the person shows up. This reduces the, let's say, reluctance, and you'll get people excited about doing their job. So if you just shift that around a little bit, make a significant difference to getting the people ready to be successful. Okay.
I love that.
All right.
Love that. What a great piece of advice.
Now,
Absolutely.
back to your next question was, what?
Go on, Steve, sorry.
You were saying that you wanted to know what the best sales cycle is.
Yeah, I just wondered what you thought. If you were giving advice to the club owners out there that will be listening to this, we've covered obviously how important sales are, how important picking up the phones are. But what do you see as, if you weren't coming into my club today, what would you expect to see when you know that that is a good sales process?
Okay, number one is make sure you teach your BAMs and your KPIs. Teach them their BAMs. One of the things, by the way, that means bare ass minimum. Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
So there needs to be minimum dials per day. People say dials, forget about dials. You can do it 300 dials. I don't care. I want to have contacts per day. Number one. And make it easy to achieve. It could be 10 contacts a day, whatever. It could be, to call up leads. If you're then calling your thank you calls, which is for your referrals, that's calling the member to get a recommendation, that could be a different contact. But there needs to be a minimum number of contacts per day. Number one. Number two, know your close rate and your show rate.
Yep.
Your beatback or NSR to sell rate. And make sure you know your walk-in to sell rate. Now, these are just the simple KPIs that if you want to have a sales process that you're going to teach them, you have to measure activity and success. Once you've got those in place, you must set your BAMs. For instance, if your show rate, BAM is 60%, ideally 80%, you've got to measure that. Now, then you can say what we need training in. If Steve's only at 42% show rate, well, he's going to burn a few leads. So you can fix that problem really, really quickly. If Steve's close rate is poor, his tour or his qualification could be crap, or his price presentation might be dodgy. So 3 things we can check. So if that's not in place, we can't train them, because we just say do more when they're doing more of the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's actually, once that's in place, the next thing is make sure our initial contact is strong, where we remember this statement. And this is something I love. We can only move at the speed of trust. So it's not about creating rapport. It's about trust. How are you going to make them feel comfortable? Where do you sit? What does the place smell like? Do you have a wow factor when they walk in? Does it sound good? Look at your club and see, is it clean? You might think that's everyone talks about it, but when you go in there and do that, it's that initial dialogue. Once you've got your initial dialogue and you sit them down, a lot of clubs are getting lazy and trying to do presentations standing up. No, sit down in the rapport zone, or the
I hate
zone.
that,
You
Steve.
don't know about that, right?
Just to stop you there, the amount of independent clubs I go into, my key business is independent clubs, and the amount you'll go into, and there is no place to sit a client down and talk to them.
You're spot on.
Everything stood up, and all that does is encourages someone to go straight on the tour. If you can't sit down and have a conversation, all you do is just go straight on a museum tour. There's no needs analysis. There's no finding out, building rapport. All that just doesn't happen. It's literally come and have a look at the club. And it just takes away everything that you want to deliver for that inquiry. Disappears because you don't have an area to sit that client down. And it amazes me how they just ignore that in their setup.
It's because they don't know what they don't know, mate. By the way, Ryan actually spot on the money here. When you are standing, you activate the reptilian brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reptilian brain is where you have the fight or flight. So if you're fight or flight standing, you get stand and then you want to go. So you can't close standing up. And if you ever go to any expensive handbag shop or any expensive car place, they'll always sit you down, and they'll never sit across from you. They'll always sit next to you so they can even touch you on the shoulder. And then you do your needs analysis, and then move into the intimate zone, out of the intimate zone. Oh, by the way, when you're talking and you get into the intimate zone, don't look them in the eye. Always talk to the piece of paper, and then lean back in a rapport zone, and then talk to them, and then go forward. Now, remember, if you're in the intimate zone, which is where you could touch them with your elbow, right? And you're just looking at the piece of paper like this and talking to the piece of paper, right? And then lean back. If you get in there, in and out there for 2 minutes, this is absolutely spot on. The whole process of rapport is doubled because you have been inside the intimate zone. So if I get my piece of paper here, you're in, talk to the piece of paper. Don't talk to them. It's too close. Then you lean back, ask them a few questions. And so come a little bit forward. You get them to go forward, and they'll look forward again. You talk to the piece of paper. You do your circles and ticks or on your iPad, and then you lean back. Do that for 2 minutes. The barriers drop, and the connection is much more effective. See, 80% of the sale is in qualification. And then the tour has to be an experience where you do at least 2 things.
Here's a quick question for you that I get a lot of feedback on. A lot of clubs, now I obviously train this out. I've done your training, so it's pretty much ingrained into me. But a lot of clubs won't have the script or have the piece of paper or have that clipboard writing down the information. Because I don't know why they've got it in their head that that's too formal. It's too. Now, I always train that out. That is vital that you have that. One, the client is reading what you're writing, and obviously that engagement. But just give the listeners some idea as to why you should be taking out either the needs analysis script or piece of paper, or how that idea of writing stuff down in front of the customer, why you're listening to them, and why that's so important.
Look here, this is 80% of the sales guys. Ryan's spot on. What we do need to do, though, is we have to understand why. See, sometimes we get told to do things, but we don't teach the people why. The reason why, And by the way, let's just pretend here for a moment you got a telephone call. I spoke to Glenda. She wants to get stronger or whatever it may be, and she turns up. What you need to do is you need to write her all the information you got on the phone on the needs analysis. Write it, tick a few boxes, write down what she said. So when you give it to her, say, I'll get you to complete the balance. Now, this reduces the tension, and they want to complete what you haven't written. So it makes a massive difference. Oh, terrific. And then see, that piece of paper has her name on it. Now that belongs to her. And then what I don't want you to do is sit down and fill it in for her. I want her to take the pen and sit down, give her a cup of tea, and then come back after she's completed it. Once you've finished it, you'll have a look at it. You'll scan it from the top left-hand corner to the right-hand corner, make a couple of little comments. Okay, you got it all right. Fantastic. Oh, we'll cover that a little bit more. And oh, gee whiz, you can come 3 times a week. That's terrific. Awesome. Now, on the phone, you said you were going fishing on the weekend. How did that go? Then you don't go to work. You want to get them to know you. Remember, not just you asking them questions. Tell them a little bit of you. I go fishing too.
Yeah.
So remember, that's where we get the trust. And then we say, well, let's get to work and let's help you out. I've got some stuff here for you. You always, if they've done a telephone call, have an action plan for them in an envelope with her name on it. Now it belongs to her. So she feels important. You open it up, you talk about it. But the needs analysis has to be completed, whether it's an express. But remember, you get them to write on it. When they're writing on it or typing it, by the way, it's better if it's written. They own the answers. The skill, as Ryan will teach you, will be asking questions about those answers.
Just want to confirm that, Steve, just what you said there, because in my last brand in Soulgenic, our needs analysis was a editable PDF. So with a pen, it was just electronically written. But exactly as you said, as soon as we came off a phone call, we would have the boring bits all filled out. So when they come in, we would open the editable PDF, and then we would start doing everything that you just said. And here's an interesting observation, and I know this about our data. When we used to sell class credits and we asked people to buy credits who were not fully fledged members, our close rate was so much lower. But with a membership, I'm no joking, our close rate was 9 out of 10, right? Because with a membership, they were not allowed to not go through the fab tour, the price presentation, the needs analysis that was all done with a conversation, exactly how you just said it. And you would think it's harder to sell the big money and the commitment, but because we did that process religiously, our close rate was so much higher on the hard stuff than it was on the class credits. People just, and I know that's a lot about they didn't want to commit as well, but because we rushed the class credit sale, our close rate was so much lower.
So you're absolutely correct here, guys. Listen to what's being said here. Here's a rule. You get enough rapport, enough, not massive anymore. It's got to be shorter, enough rapport. Find compelling argument times 2 or 3. 3, and remember, people pay to have problems solved. So find out their problem or what the ramification if they stay the same. Now, we've added a couple of little things to the 4 Ws, Ryan. I'll just share them with you. We asked the question, why those areas, what don't you like about it? And then the next question is a double why. And why has this become important now and hasn't been before? That's the why. Then we have a when question. And I'm really big now, and I have a saying, get heavy on the when. Heavy on the when. In the needs analysis, the standard says, when would you like to achieve the results? They'll say February, ASAP, when we get the month. That's standard. Next when, we've got a double when. This is big rock. Makes a massive difference. You take nothing away from today and use this. I guarantee it will make a massive difference. The next question is, when would you want to start? And they'll say straight away. So now you've pre-framed or you've opened loop that they're starting now.
Yeah.
because they want to be bigger. They want to be losing weight. Okay, well, that's doable. And I love that word doable. I use it all the time now. It's like, oh, that's doable. And then you can pre-frame your secondary spend. Oh, gee whiz, we'll need to do a nutrition analysis for that, and maybe actually get a bit of PT to fast track that for February, because that's just around the corner. So that's all doable. But Ryan, big question here. And on the needs analysis, I notice you want to get started straight away. Terrific. Well, let's see if we're a fit first. Now you take it away. You take it away. Let's see if we're a fit first, and then if we are, we'll get you ready for your holiday. Okay, you take it away. Right. So I'm saying I'm going to join you. Let's just say if you're fit. Oh, by the way, Ryan, if we don't join a club to get the weight off, what's your plan B? What's your plan B? In other words, I'm being real. Then you do your big how. Well, how good is it going to be once you've actually got the size and definition of weight off? Yeah. What's the ramification if everything stays the same for your school reunion? They stay the same. I'll be devastated.
It's a brilliant question.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We always say, don't worry. Don't worry. By coming to the club 2 or 3 times a week, especially working with the trainer in the first 6 weeks, you pre-frame the secondary spend. You'll be well on the way of kicking some goals. And then you ask a question, are you looking forward to your holiday? Always ask about outcome. Yeah. And they go, absolutely. I said, well, we got your back on that, Buster. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then you do the rest of your needs analysis. So you're not talking about joining, because they don't want a membership. They don't want to join. They just want to feel good in their bikini. Are you looking forward to going to Ibiza? Yeah. Okay, we want to see pictures. Let's make it happen. And you've got to get comfortable with that dialogue, and your confidence. You can't guarantee the result, but your tone and saying we can help you makes all the difference. So that needs analysis, Ryan, you're spot on the money. It needs to be trained, and it's not a 10-minute training. It's broken up into 3 to 4 sections.
Steve, I was just about to say that. I was listening to a podcast yesterday about the art of selling, and it was really just summarising what you said about don't shove a new salesperson straight on the phones, right? But salespeople need to craft skill, and then we give them a job, very little training, and then get them moving immediately. Now, you've just described, and you do it without even thinking, such awesome skills there. But they need to be trained, right?
Look, to learn a needs analysis will take you a day and some. You need to chunk it. Now, when we learn, we don't train, and Ryan knows this, I'm sure you do too. You show them the whole thing, but then you chunk it, and then you need to hear, say, and do things 6 times to get 62% retention. Now, as you would have known when we did the Holmes Place stuff over in London, we used to go, your turn, my turn. And we do it in small chunks. Your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. That's 6. Then we do 3 more without a mistake, and then 1 more for good measure. This creates a neural pathway.
Yeah.
And that's become stronger with the repetition. Then we chunk it, then we double chunk it, then we get more and more in it, then we do a flow.
I love that.
And that means they learn how to do it. And this does not take, if anyone thinks they can teach you a needs analysis by just telling you what to do, tell training is Neanderthal. They have to go through with an expert, create an experience, and learn how to do it. And after that, there needs to be more PDR, practice, drill, rehearse. I don't call it role play anymore, because people don't like role play, but they're quite happy to do PDR. Okay.
Just curiously, Steve, I've seen on your website that you have your mentoring program. And
yes, we have a mentor program.
Yeah. I'm a major fan of coaching for success. And I'm also a fan of mentoring as well as coaching. Yeah. So do you mind telling people why you think salespeople will perform higher if they've been mentored?
Okay. If they're going to be going into a mentorship, what you need to do, the mentor needs to be able to be a confidant, so they can go to that person and say, I'm failing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the most important parts of mentorship. It's about holding it. And the big word that a lot of people avoid is accountability.
Yeah.
Your mentor will hold you accountable, and you give them permission to give them a bit of a, let's say, a bit of an uppercut. Now, all the successful people in the world have a mentor, and they have someone that holds them accountable and teaches them. And they're usually the people that have had ups and downs. Never have a mentor that's always said they've had success, because that's bullshit. You've got to have someone that's had the ups and downs that can empathize with you, but they have to be good at giving you tough love.
Absolutely.
And that's where a mentor, that makes a massive difference. And we're very selective with who we mentor. However, when we do mentor them, we have 100% success rate in the increments, sometimes 200-300% in their results, because they do. We only learn by doing. And if we hold people accountable, and if they don't do it, we're onto it straight away.
Amazing.
So, yes, mentorship is great.
Yeah, I just love that idea. Ryan, I'm going to ask you this to, like Steve's mentioned the importance of mentoring, but I don't think that I see many clubs in our sector that have taken a new member of staff and gave them a mentor in sales.
No, absolutely not. I think Steve got it right early on in the interview, in the fact that we've gone away a little bit. We've got into this habit of, because we don't have the old school sales teams like we used to in a lot of the clubs, it is a mix of people. We've almost made sales a quick fix, a quick job. It's get them in, get them out sort of thing. And we've gone away from this whole process of, this is the sales process end to end. I mean, to give people an idea, when we trained with Holmes Place with Steve, God, back in the late 90s, early noughties, whatever it was, I think we went to London once a month for about 12 months, and we did each section in a day. So the telephone call was a day's training. The needs analysis was a day's training, and you literally went 1 or 2 lines at a time, like you were saying, chunking it. We chunked it, learned the top bit. Then it was massive report at the time. Then it was that section, and that's how we learned it. And I think we've gone away from putting so much emphasis on the sale, which is crazy to me, considering it's a lifeblood of your business, and it's not just a lifeblood of the revenue that comes in. You do that right, it's a lifeblood of your retention as well. So that member stays longer because they have a better experience. Your club, we used to use that sales process not in the front end, and this is what I teach all my clients. That sales process doesn't just start with the membership tour and get them sold. That then feeds through into your PTs, into your reception team. Everything, like you were saying, add-on sales, secondary sales, all comes from that same process, that same attitude. To be fair, it's the first time I learned about disc profiling was when I did that with you, and I love disc profiling. I don't know whether you still teach it, Steve, but it's I still love the idea of the disc stuff. And it's but the whole club feeds off that sales training. Like I say, Holmes Place was mental. We even down to the cleaner, we had them doing disc and all sorts of stuff. It was brilliant. But the whole club buys into that sales process, and that's why I think it's really important to have. Whereas a lot of the clubs now have almost gone away, and it's all automated. It's online, Pure Gym, all them like you join online, you go up, you turn up with the code, and you go in. You don't even speak to anyone these days, and it's a shame the industry's going that way, and I think we need to pull it back and go, okay, this is what we do. I would
say though, Ryan, when Steve mentioned about convenience, we have got to be mindful of that. So Steve, in the modern day world, doing all of those fantastic techniques, how short can you get that sales process from the moment they walk in that club to a trial close and then a close? How long would you say that's going to be? Half an hour? Can you do it in half an hour now?
Yes, you can do that. What we've also did, and if you are good at what you do, you can do it in half an hour and have all the paperwork and do referral models or recommendation processes as well.
Yeah.
But just before COVID took place, I trialed. We have a number of clubs globally that we trial new things with. And I got hold of this thing called Zoom back in there before everyone learned about it when COVID came along. And I was thinking, gee whiz, you got call to contact to booked appointment to show to tour to close. If I could take 2 dynamics data away, would that make you happy? And people said, oh, absolutely. I said, all right. I get Glenda on the phone. I talk to her. She really wants to do whatever I've found out of 4Ws and so forth. Then I'll ask her the question, hey, Glenda, you have access to a computer or internet? And she says, yes, I have. I said, terrific. Have you ever heard of Zoom? And nowadays I say, absolutely. I said, terrific. can you get access to your computer now? She said, yeah, I'm in front of it now. I said, terrific. I'll just send you a link. And how about I show you how we're going to get you bigger, stronger, faster, so you feel comfortable and we can move forward faster. Guess what? 50, 60, 70% of people said, yeah, sure. And we went on to Zoom, and then we did a trial. And we got them on Zoom, and we created the modality. And we had to have everything ready. You had to have your explanation, demonstration, your qualification stuff all ready to go. And it's all done properly. So we then created a process of selling online or via Zoom mastery. It was a 6-week program where we taught people how to do the phone switch from, and by the way, it's just wonderful now because you've got people doing your work from home. You've got stay-at-home mums that can't do all the stuff, and you can get your staffing up, and they just have a nice background. And then you give them the tools, you show them how to do it. And there's a lot of different things that you need to do on Zoom. For instance, you don't look at the picture, you look at the lens.
Oh, I know.
When you ask a question, you'll say, let me just write that down. Is that okay, Glenda? And I'll write it down, and then I'll talk it's a few things. And then your needs analysis is done on screen. We then have explanation demonstration via a couple of very short little videos or little testimonials. And then you do your price presentation. Ryan, you love this. You'll just put up your T-graph and just go tick, 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 and has a circle on the right, say, what sort of person are you? And guess what? They pick it. Now, if you get the objection, guess what the objection would be? I got to think about shop around. If you're not any good at doing that, you say, well, look, better still, why don't we organize for you to come down to the club? You can get a feel and taste of it. Now, that's a knockback instead of just booking the tour, getting to get a car park and turn up. And guess what? 60, 70, 80% increases in sales, especially around COVID time. It was all done by that but no one knew how to do it. So we created a model. And I tell you right now, we got people at home now that used to little babies and they want to still work in the club, but they haven't got full-time hours. They can do their phone calls, get them onto Zooms, and we're making significant amount of sales.
Wow.
So, and by the way, the big rock here for all of you that are thinking that might be a good idea, the way to close on Zoom. You want to know how?
Go on.
You want to know how?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Sending people a link is a disaster. Send them an email with a link. You got to wait. On Zoom, you'll say, put the link in the chat box and click the link and say, click the link in the chat box, Ryan, and share your screen. They come up, or you just say, click here and go to my website. Go to your pay page. They'll type it in as they go, and it's done. Click the link in the chat box, close. That's what it's called. You have no idea how smooth it is.
Yeah.
And it becomes real simple. Click the link. They put in their details. Wow. Then you book them in to have their first workout. Guys, you have no idea how easy it is, but you've got to learn some of the skills. So that's how we've shifted some of the technology modalities. And then it takes about half an hour as well. So it's not, you don't have to walk around the club anymore. You just show them some really nice pictures and maybe a couple little videos.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you've more than demonstrated to the people out there, if they've not invested in sales training, I think after this conversation, they might be thinking again about that. Steve, I'm just conscious of time, and I've got one final question. I'm sure Ryan will have one. But in the spirit of your immense knowledge, and you've done this for so long that it's just natural to you, right? If clubs out there want to increase their close rate, and they could only do one thing, and you're only allowed to give us one bit of advice because you've got hundreds, what is the one thing you would tell us all to do when we leave this call today that would up your close rate and give you more sales? One thing.
Lay an egg on finding the 2 or 3 compelling reasons that they have that they want fixed. Make sure you find their pain point. Not, I want to lose weight. Losing weight is not a pain point.
Yeah, why it hurts them, why it's emotional to them.
Why is it a problem?
Yeah, why is it a problem?
You've got to find out, and you've got to have more than one problem. One thing to take away, find out the compelling argument, but make sure there's a minimum of 2 or 3. Well, you're going to do weight loss. I can do that. What else? What are 2 or 3 things? Make sure you have compelling reason, and do not tour them until you've got that done. If you just want one thing, make sure you find compelling argument. Remember, fix the big problems, get the big bucks. Okay. And again, people pay to have problems solved. So that would be if it was just one. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we always like to finish on one quick. I mean, we could be here for hours, Steve. I mean, obviously your training is weeks long, so we could generally be here for hours with you. In terms of, we'll get you back on in another series. I know it's taken us a while to get you on this one, but we'll get you back on again because it is fascinating. But one question we ask all of our guests, now you've been in the industry sort of 30 years, and I'm sure you've had a lot of things over the years that inspire you. But what inspires you as an individual in a company to do what you guys do every day?
You know what? I go into a training or on our online stuff, and what really gives me massive joy is when we have people turning up that's a little bit, let's say, they're doing everything wrong or upside down, and I just see the look in their eyes, and maybe in a day's training, and you get the smile on their face, and they got that aha moment. It's like, and then all of a sudden you get a call or a text. Oh man, I did 7 sales today, or I got 6 referrals, and they're so happy. And I get messages just the other day from a guy that did our old training about 10 years ago in Argentina. And he said, hey, I just wanted to reach out and say, thank you. You changed my life because I did this, and I still have my Top Gun award. And that is the thing that really gives me joy. And I just love seeing people, let's say, shorten the pain component. And because we know what we do works. And if they use it, I know it makes them happy, and it can make them happy pretty quickly. So nothing's worse than being a failure in sales, and it's even worse if you're a business where you're struggling to make sure that you've got enough members. So we have a saying: "There's not much in business more sales won't fix." So,
well, that's a great place to end it, Steve. I think that's a really good quote. We'll put that one on the thing. If anybody wants to get in touch with Steve, obviously we'll put, as we always do, we'll put Steve's details at the end. You can't miss him on LinkedIn. He's obviously on there quite a lot. So obviously reach out, and obviously Impact Training is his company. So really appreciate your time today, Steve. I know it's obviously evening time there, so you can go and enjoy a beer and the end of the summer sunshine over there, and hopefully we will catch you again soon. Really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great questions, guys. I must say, you hit the nail on the head with some of your questions, and it was absolutely delightful. It's great to talk to people that are on the same page, and I hope your listeners are able to put it into practice. All right, gang, thanks for reaching out.
Thank you, Steve. What an absolute short masterclass. Everybody has to listen to this one. Thank you, Steve. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.